Any advice on running investigation as a narrative? The cult is up to no good, but we need to find them. My frequent struggle is players floundering, not knowing what to do. Well, one thing, you don't. I don't think you should be afraid of the game feeling like a game. When all else fails, present some mechanics. So you can do it a few different ways. Or obviously, there are lots of different ways to do this. I'll just throw out an idea. Somebody wants this solved, right? Look at stories like Knives Out or most Sherlock Holmes stories or detective investigation stories. Somebody's coming to and asking for professional help. Somebody's saying, "Hey, listen, I need you to talk to these people and figure this out. I need you to track these people down. I need you to figure out how this came to be. Um, you know, here is my crazy board. I've figured out this and I figured out this, but see, I have 1 and 5, but 2, 3, and 4. See these big squares that are missing? Like I need to fill in those. I don't know how this. I don't know who this, and I don't know when this. Can you figure it out for me because I need X, Y, Z? I think it's okay to almost present the problem of an investigation in sort of a Mad Lib style, especially when a party's not super experienced with it, right? Or isn't, I shouldn't say experienced. Some groups are going to be more intuitively more curious and geared toward figuring things out. Yeah. Especially concrete actions. So one of the first big investigations or mysteries that I ran was who is trying to kill the mayor, or rather, who did kill the mayor. I forget when the mystery was introduced. I have to check my notes. Who killed the mayor? And the nature of the killing was via constructs. What's up, Capuchon? And so the people in sort of the city government that asked the party to help were like, here are the 3 inventors that could have beef with the mayor. Here's basically a profile on each of them. Can you be the independent? Can you investigate this, or can you get in with each of them? Don't let them know what we're trying to figure out. Like maybe you're contracting some work from these inventors, or you're looking into something else, but don't let on that this is what you're investigating. Maybe you're consulting with them to try to, you think it's actually one of the other, however the players want to approach it, but you're basically giving them like dossiers on, these suspects and asking them to basically make their best guess. In my game, the players were given basically free reign to speak to each of them, each person that they went and investigated. There was a little encounter and a sequence of events, or like, hey, if you want my help, you have to do this for me. And once they kind of completed those quests along the line, they got to make their guess. They were actually wrong, imprison the wrong person. They've never gone back to fix that even. And the person who really did it ended up trying to get rid of them, and became a big long story in the Underdark. But yeah, Jesse makes a good point. I phrase it actually in this document too, or in this one shot. In general, in all of our games, we could, I think, aim for fewer investigation checks. Try not to ask for too many skill checks as the players explore looking for clues. If we ask for an investigation check before revealing a clue, we risk bad rolls leading to clues staying hidden. That would be bad. Finding clues in this adventure is meant to be fun, but not difficult. We want the players to find every clue they look for. The challenge lies in piecing together what the clues mean. I think to use if you walk into a room, I think I have a video about this, but describing all of the weird things in a room without requiring a perception or investigation check allows the players to use their checks to further analyze what they're being shown. So the goal is to make sure that no one thing on its own reveals much of anything. But if I take these 2 things and I put them together, or if I take this thing and I investigate it further, that will reveal something to me. Here's actually, I think this is a clever way to do it. Here, let me show you what I mean. Um, so as the players investigate this cottage, it's sort of like it's divided into these different areas. So if somebody's like, hey, I'm going to go explore that corner because there's glass pipes are interesting, or maybe somebody's like, I'm going to go look at the bookshelves, or maybe like somebody's really boring, like I want to go look at the reading chair. So at the reading chair is the area closest to, there's this rug that's covering the floor of the cottage, and it's covering a massive clue, um, which is that the first floor of the cottage is stained this like inky purple color, and it's a result of the accident that led to the person that went missing. I thought I was going to sneeze. So the way that this is discoverable without being hidden by a perception check is that there's a reading chair, and specifically, like, there's a pillow and blanket on the chair, there's an overturned trunk, and there's a cushion sitting on the shelf. Okay, well, I'm going to take a look at the trunk. Great. Maybe they ignore the trunk. That's totally fine. And might have to find another clue. If they investigate the trunk, then while describing the trunk, we also call out that there's red dust that has spilled out of the trunk, and next to the dust on the floor, there's a small black stain. And it seems to continue whereas, how do I say this? A pile of fine red dust has spilled onto the rug, and there's a small black stain on the floor next to it. Somebody says, okay, I want to take a look at the stain, the small black stain. Anyone looking closely at the stain will see that it continues underneath the rug. Pulling the rug aside will reveal the huge black stain, blah, 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 blah. So rather than saying, like, okay, if they check in this way, like, we're just describing the room and they say, I want to look at that. And by looking at that, that's what reveals. Now, we don't tell them what the source of the stain is, but they find something basically by being inquisitive and sort of verbally walking around the room. The way I have it right now is a gather information check, which can be several different skills based on where they are, always reveals information. It's just a measure of time. Yeah. I mean, and depending on the nature of the investigation, if you're talking to characters, you can also do a lot with just, I mean, it's more role playing and questions, right? What they ask is going to determine what they learn, and that's a lot more. There's a lot more that goes into that, I think. I'm not sure that I have even a system for that. It's always been just sort of, okay, let's see what they ask and then see what I think I can say. Try to give them as much information as possible, right? Yeah, it's definitely tricky. I think that the hardest type of encounter to run can be a puzzle encounter, like a puzzly situation, and the hardest type of arc or adventure to run is, you know, a detective, like a case, an investigation. The other good part about having the PCs be approached and given the case by an NPC is they would also then have a contact, right? They would have somebody that is aware of the case, interested in the development of the case, that they can seek help from, and basically gives you a character in the world to speak to them, which can be a real, like, that could be a real challenge. And I think it's important too to keep to be responsive to, as much as we can, to be like responsive to players and sort of flexible, right? Sometimes things have to adjust. It's obviously it's a super fuzzy line where this happens, but to some extent, if I'm sure everybody's experienced this in some ways, but there's a certain point where, okay, the players have misunderstood something to such an extent that does it become real? I don't know if you guys have ever run into that before. I'm trying to think of a good example where it's like, okay, the players have convinced themselves that this is true, or keep talking about it. They keep forgetting that this is not true. Is it just easier if I make it true? Is it just easier if this is real? Rather than correcting them, rather than changing it, just let that be the case. Is that part of the back and forth? And I think sometimes I let that be the case, and other times I don't. And I don't know that I have a real hard and fast rule for it. But I think that can be particularly tricky with investigations where it's like, how much, obviously you don't want the party to just always be right. In fact, I think it's a lot more interesting for them to like solve the case. In the case of in my game, like they didn't even know they were wrong for a little while. And it was really only once they were in a place where they couldn't really undo their mistake. Because in a obviously not in real life, but in a real story, there's nobody to come in to sweep in at the end and give you a grade on how well you did. It's like if you pick and for instance, if you pick and effectively convict the killer and you were wrong, I'm not sure the party would ever know that. There might be some after effects. There might be some results of that. Maybe one day in the future they get a letter from the actual killer thanking them for being so incredibly wrong at investigating.